Welcome back. I'm Kim Bailey. She's Fulyana Osborne. This is Inside Exec. This is session 4 of our workplace series for 2021, and today we're going to talk about communicating your core values. This is a topic that continually rates highly from our previous podcasts. Both the iTunes version and the YouTube version get a lot of responses every month, so we thought we might revisit it. Initially, we talked to David Skillen about communicating core values, and that was way back in 2016. So a long time since we've really focused on communicating core values, given that our working environments have changed somewhat in that 5 years since then. We thought it might be time within this series to talk about communicating your core values. Obviously, we're going to assume that you have determined your core values already. So it's not about revisiting the core values. It is that you have core values for your organisation. How do you best communicate those within your organisation and externally so that potential employees know what core values are, that your customers know what your core values are?
I mean, there's so many ways, obviously. Firstly, people need to know what the core values are of their organisation. And that might be, if you like, first communication for a new starter. That might be at the induction into the organisation, etc. But for the core values to keep top of mind, and it's why we're here and how we do things around here, you've got to keep that communication going. For example, if you're at a meeting and you're discussing prioritisation, then you think, well, okay, how does that fit in with our core values? What's important? So you're looking at customer, shareholder, you're looking at employees, all of those, and then how does that fit with our core values? Is it consistent with it? Is it not consistent with it? Which one of our core values? An example would be, we're going to talk about this, or an action. We want to go somewhere. We want to do something. I don't know if we should do that, somebody should say, and say, why is that? Say, well, doesn't actually sit right with our integrity part of the core values. So it's gonna, even though we don't mean it not to be, it could be seen as not. Yeah. So if you keep doing that, you keep it live and you keep it relevant, because if it isn't, it shouldn't be one of your core values.
What you're saying is that the core values can't be the thing that's sitting up on the board, but it becomes a filter for everything you do. It's a filter for every decision you make. It's a filter for every action you take.
And also is to sort of keep each other on it. I know there's some people that really like to big note themselves by picking on people who are doing things not within their core values. That's not where I'm going with this. What I'm going with this is, yes, you can call people out, but the need behind it is to keep us on track with their core values rather than belittle the person or show they've done something wrong. But if you're going to do that, you really should be also using the opposite of that by saying things like, this is really good because it's strengthened or it's very much in line of our core value, and name the one that you're talking about. I think it is important that people really, really understand them. They're not just words that they use. How do we apply them? How do we translate them? And how do we reflect in our action or production of our goods or services?
I think that understanding of the core values and having them in, for want of a better term, plain English action statements, rather than, even though they're supposed to be value statements, but you turn them into an action so that the value is integrity, which means that. So we have a core value of one word, which means that we do this thing. So that it always becomes an active association for people. When they read the core values, they say, oh, it's integrity. So that means that we have to do these things, or that we believe in these things. So that every decision we make, there's a way that they can relate it to themselves. And it's the phrasing. That phrasing is most often used in marketing, but this is a marketing exercise. You are marketing these values to everyone who sees them. And I think too that in terms of communicating it with, not so much internally but outside the organisation, to your stakeholders, to your potential employees, is that you lead with those core values. So we have a core value of integrity. which means that every decision we make, blah, blah, blah. It's the same sort of wording, but it reinforces for everyone that what you are saying to your people internally is what you are saying to everyone else who associates with the organisation externally. And it's very clear what your values are, and they are your core values. They are the things that from which you will not stray. And that can be translated into personal ones as well. We had Ben Baker spoke to us in late 2019 about personal core values and having a digital profile. If you can understand that in terms of you as a person, then you should be able to translate it to your organisation and have it so that if I decide that this is my core value for me, that would translate in an organisational sense to this, and that would then mean for the people these things. And so that's what I need to tell them. And so the same way you would as a manager manage yourself and talk to yourself about values, you translate that into the way you communicate within the organisation, whether it's your team or it's your stakeholders or anyone else.
On the personal core values, I often reflect on and suggest people reflect on, in your working life, in your total life, what do you want to be remembered for? If you keep that top of mind and thinking, oh, I'm going to do that, will I be remembered for it? For example, okay, I want to increase revenue for the organisation, so I'm going to increase price there and add a new fee there and all of that. So is that within our company values? Is that integrity? Is that ethical? Apart from the fact of the legal and compliance, that is important. But aside from that, am I the sort of person that want to do that to someone else and said, I want to be remembered to the person that got the top numbers, but I had to do them in a very unethical way? No, that's not what I want. So again, remind yourself what you want to be remembered for. Who are you and who you want people to genuinely know you for? Are you the person that would walk over something that needs help and just keep going and don't care? Are you the person that will stop and help? And that will be reflected in the way you behave at work, because will you help another person, a colleague that's struggling with something and you're in a position to help without ignoring yourself? Is that the sort of thing you want to do? Is that what the organisation is saying? We want to be able to work together as a team, rely on each other, because not one person can do everything. Teamwork is one of your core values. Then you've got to think about, as a person, am I like that? Or am I, no, I don't care about people. I don't want to have anything to do with any human being, which is impossible, by the way. But
I think too that there's opportunity within the social media arenas for you to promote your core values. And it's simple, it's the subtle things. It's not always talking about it, but it's having, if you've got a Facebook page, you have the header that just has your core values on it. Or the image of your organisation has the core values on it. Same LinkedIn, you use the header of that page to have your core values, so that it's a constant but subtle message that is communicating all of the time when you can't actually physically say something.
Bottom line is, you've got to live by your core values, and you've got to be seen to be living by your core values, and not that just fancy words and window dressing.
And it's not always the physical communication, it can be non-verbal communication. It can be as simple as in a meeting where people start to say, does that meet our core value? And you roll your eyes, then that's not communicating the core values in the way that you should be doing it. So we won't recommend that. But it is about thinking about all of the ways that you communicate, not just thinking, well, it's core values, then I have to put out a little memorandum that says, these are the things we believe in and this is how we'll do things. It's about making it actionable and making it second nature for people, making it a filter for every decision you make.
We probably will do the same, like you said before. Kim put the reference to David Skillens as a guest on that topic, because that was really good.
I will, for those of you who haven't heard David Skillens' thoughts on this particular topic, I'll put the link to that episode where we talked to him over 3 episodes, but that particular one about the core values, I'll put the link at the bottom of this one so that you can listen to that as well. But for now, I'm Kim Bailey, she's Fulyana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec.